Hey, what's up, internet marketers? Today I have a very special guest, Keith Wheeler, the creator of Puzzle Book Domination. He has many years' experience publishing and profiting on the KDP platform. He's a multi award winning author and he's been publishing books ever since he was 14, excuse me. So, without further ado, let's jump into this great interview. Make sure you watch this video until the very end. And if you're curious or want to learn more about puzzle book domination, make sure you check out the information below. Hey Keith, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you for coming on to the show today. I
No
have,
problem. Thanks for having me.
yeah, because I got really excited. I seen you before in other channels talking about puzzle books, and I went through puzzle book domination myself. And I got to tell you, it's an outstanding course. Thank you very much for creating that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words.
Okay. Well, I asked some of my subscribers, some of my audience, what types of questions they'd like me to ask you. So I have a little list here. If you'll oblige me, I'm going to start asking you some of these questions. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Beautiful. First question is, why should KDP publishers sell puzzle books?
You know, so no content books and low content books, they're consumables, which means that once someone uses them, they have to, go out and buy another one. But see, puzzle books are the next level because whereas if you create a journal, someone might buy your journal or, and use it. And then when they're done, they might buy somebody else's or they might go back and buy yours again. But with puzzle books, not only are you able to make it stand out, but they're not going to buy that same puzzle book again because they've already done those puzzles. And so they sell themselves. And so especially if they like your content, they will, like I said, they'll cross sell each other, as well as instead of just having like one seller that just sells, is the one that brings in most of your money. It's kind of more of an even keel because again, someone's not going to go back and buy that exact same puzzle book.
I see. So people are always going to come back for entertainment because
Exactly.
it's something new.
Right.
But
It's exactly.
okay, thank you. Do you recommend one brand name or several brands?
Um, th- Another good question. So it really is going to depend on your niches. I mean, I have several brands, but the big thing is if you already have a brand in a given niche for your other low content or even written books, then instead of reinventing the wheel, use that same brand. Use that same brand to kind of just show that you have other things out there because you already have that customer loyalty and the familiarity with you than if you're starting something new. But
Oh,
I definitely have, different niches will have different brand names. So it really depends on what niches you're in and how many different niches you happen to be in. And if they cross, if they're the same or at least a similar audience. Obviously, if you've got children's books and some children's puzzles, and then you decide you want to do some adult themed puzzles, you're probably not going to want to use that same name, or brand. So it's really going to depend on what your offerings are.
okay, I understand. So, for example, if you're in the children's book niche, then you want to stay in that arena. If you got like say, let's say, for example, a different brand, puzzle, like let me say, word search puzzle books, crosswords, puzzle books, you want to stay there. I mean, you can add those puzzle books under that umbrella brand for puzzle books.
Right. Because you
Okay.
can do word searches and crossword and stuff like that for kids as well. Just you make them easier.
Okay.
And so then obviously, yeah, you'll want to use that same name because again, they have the familiarity. But if you're doing something that is, especially if it's something like, more like erotica themed puzzle
Okay.
books, like the words that are in it, or even just, adult language, maybe some, swear words and stuff like that, then you probably won't want to use that same name that you use for your kids' books because you don't want the parent to see that name and be like, oh, I can get this for my kids and then have a bad experience.
That makes sense. Thank you. What type of puzzle book sells best? Very straightforward question.
It is. It is. And believe it or not, I get that so many times. Okay, so you've got the ones that everybody's heard of. You've got the word searches and the crosswords and the Sudoku. You've got those kind of puzzles. And yes, they sell like crazy. they sell the equivalent to like line journals. You know, everybody's got line journals out there. But just like line journals, because they're so popular, everybody's making them, and so they're that much more competitive. There are other puzzle types out there that sell well as well, maybe not as well as like word searches or whatever, but they're a lot less competitive. Things like Hashiwakakero and there's so many other ones that are out there that you can create that I mean even Sudoku, what's called the sandwich Sudoku, which is completely different. Um, it's like taking a Sudoku, but then you add something on top of it. Things like that, word matches, people really like those. But again, they're less competitive, and so you have a much better chance of being seen above the noise, as opposed to if you just created just an all word search puzzle or whatever.
That speaks to your course actually. That's one of the best things about your course. Something that separates you from the other courses I went through is the 14 different puzzles. And surprisingly, puzzles that I thought wouldn't have much search value do have search value. And they're, very, very little competition, at all. I mean, there's very little competition. I was very surprised with that. And yeah, just to speak to your point, I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I actually put pride in the fact that the puzzles, and it's called Puzzle Book Domination, but as you know, they're not all puzzles. There are games in there as well. But all the puzzles and games that I put in the course are ones that I've researched, I've created, and more importantly, have actually sold for me. So those are the prerequisites that needed to happen in order for them to be included in the course.
Okay, so they've been filtered down to proven winners. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Thank you. This is from a subscriber. What percentage of your puzzle books make regular sales?
Okay, so I would say, I mean, without having the numbers right in front of me,
Okay.
I mean, it's going to depend on your niche, obviously. I mean, just like with anything else, there are niches that just either sell during certain times of the years, or some they're just not a good fit for that particular type of book. But I would say in general, about 50% of my books, my puzzle books, sell on a regular basis.
Okay, cool. So like the dream passive income, 50% of
Right.
them actually are in that threshold. Okay.
Right.
How many pages should your puzzle book be? This is a great question, actually. This is a question that, yeah.
It is a great question. I mean, my number is, I always do 108.
108.
And it started out as just happened that way. 108 is also kind of a magic number with KDP, in that when you go above 108 pages, you actually start getting a little bit less per page of royalties. And so, but what it ends up being is I tend to do a lot of variety books, just because I think that you reach more people that way. Because if you do just a word search book, for one, like I said before, it's going to be super competitive, but also you're only going to get people that are interested in word searches. Whereas if you do, word searches and hashi wakakeros and crosswords, and you include all of them in there, then you're getting people that like all those different types of puzzles, all can consume your book. And so again, you're still niching down, but you're also being a little bit broader. So because I do variety books, I typically will do 10 pages of 10 different types of puzzles, and then there's usually about 8 pages of answer keys in the back. So it ends up being about 108 pages. But if you're doing them for kids, you do even less.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So you kind of answered our leading into the next question. But yeah, so the pricing and the royalties, because the next question here is, what's your pricing strategy for puzzle books? I guess you kind of answered it there. You don't want to go over 108 pages because your royalties are going to suffer.
Right, right. And so that's how I figure out the pages. And again, if you're doing kids books, then you're going to probably want it to be a smaller page count.
Okay.
As far as my pricing, I usually, the $8.99 is usually my sweet spot. I do have some that go as low as $6.99 or $7.99, but then depending on some niches, I actually have books that go up to $14.95. So it's gonna, just like with any other kind of book, it's gonna depend on your niche and your competition in that niche. But
But
it's about $7.99, $8.99 is a good point to start. And then obviously, if you're getting more sales, you can up it. If you're not getting as many, you might want to drop it down a little bit. So
Okay. And speaking on that point, this is not one of the questions I got here, but it makes sense to ask it now. So because of their puzzle books, do you usually charge more than, for example, a low content book or a journal book?
yes, yes. And it's because for one, there's more content. It's more towards the low content than no content. You're all putting things in there. And it's just the people that do puzzle books. They're voracious readers. They really are, or voracious consumers, I guess is a better way to put it.
I gotcha.
I actually sometimes compare them to the romance genre,
Oh,
where they just consume so much content. You've got people who literally, as soon as they put down, as soon as they finish, a Sudoku puzzle or whatever puzzle, they want to go out and buy the next one. And so, especially when they're buying online, it's not unheard of for them to buy in bulk because again, they consume so much of it. Now, obviously, not everybody consumes that much, but there's really a good portion that do. So yeah, I charge more for my puzzle books than I do for my no content, low content books.
okay. Thank you very much. Do you use software to create puzzle books? This is a good question I got here from one of my subscribers.
That is a great question. I do. And that's one thing that I wanted to make a point in my course is that my course shows you how to make them, but it's not that I'm against software. There are software that I absolutely use and that I recommend. I know Puzzle Book Mastery is one that you're quite familiar with.
Yeah.
Kenneth is that guy, and I use his software as well. But there are some that I use my doing it myself, like I taught in the course and stuff like that, like my Hashis and other puzzles like that. So it's kind of a hybrid. Some of my books have 90% software, created puzzles and 10% ones I've done. Others are the other way around. So it really depends.
Yeah, and to speak to your course again, one another very impressive point is, I mean, just the puzzle diversity. People, yeah, like you said earlier, Sudoku, crossword, like word search, that's it. That's all they have in their heads. But there's so much more out there, and there's not a piece of software out there that can, satisfy all of these different puzzle types. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing that I didn't mention, but another prerequisite to be included in the course is that there's no software that I'm aware of, no paid software that you can buy that will create these puzzles. Now, obviously, I say that, and then some software creator like Ken's going to buy my course and then make the software. But when it was added to the course, there was no software that could do that.
Yeah, we gotta think about the future. That's right.
Right.
What's the secret sauce to win with puzzle books? Again, a question from a subscriber.
Yeah, you got really smart subscribers. These are great questions. So it really it's just like any other book. Whether it's I've got written books, I've got no content, low content books, and puzzle books. It's really comes down to having a great cover. Something that's going to draw their attention. We have very low attention spans now, and so when someone, especially if they're scrolling on their phone, it needs to pop. It needs to get them to click on it right away. And then good quality interior, something that it's kind of a balance because you want to give them something that's some familiarity, something that gives them, that kind of nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that they're comfortable with, but then give them something that makes you stand out. And so that's why,
Okay.
I don't suggest making an entire book on hashis, although you probably could, and they would probably sell. But having a puzzle book, a variety book, for example, that has maybe 90% puzzles that they've heard of before, and then maybe 80 to 20 or 10 to 20% a new book or new puzzle types. So that's usually what I do. I usually only include out of 10 puzzle types in a book, maybe one or two new ones. So again, it makes them stand out. And you want to include that in your description because you need to have a killer description as well. The way your description works is so many people use it like the back blurb of their book, and that's not what it is. It's a sales page, And so each line needs to either get them to click that buy button, or it needs to at least engage them enough to where they read the next line.
Okay,
So
just to speak to your point, the secret sauce is a nice cover, a great cover, hopefully, a good
Right.
interior with a good diverse number of puzzles, not too many, 2 new ones max, right?
Yeah, I would say 2 new ones max.
And a sales copy minded type of description.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What's the longevity of the average title or average book in your experience?
In my experience, it's kind of like if you've ever gone camping, and you build a fire. It's like, how long will a fire last? How long do you want to keep putting wood on top of that fire? Wood being ads, promotion. It doesn't always have to be ads, but some kind of promotion to keep people, keep it up there to where people know about it. I have puzzle books and no content books that I created back in 2016 that still sell on the monthly basis.
Wow.
And then I've got ones that if I don't give it enough love, may not get any sales, or may die out in a month or 2 or 6 or whatever. So it's kind of hard to say. It really comes down to how much love are you going to give that book, and that goes for written books, no content books, or puzzle books.
Yeah. Okay. Any piece of content out there, basically, right?
Exactly. Just because there are thousands of new books being published every single day. And so in order for yours to stay up there and visible, then you need to be doing something, whether it's, doing interviews, or it's, running ads, or, other kind of promotional and marketing, adventures. You need to keep people knowing about your book. And of course, reviews don't hurt either.
Okay. You'll always be looking to bark up some traffic, wherever it may be. Okay.
Exactly.
What KDP related Chrome extensions do you use? There's a lot of them out there.
There are a lot of them out there. I used to use a whole lot. Right now, I literally just have DS Amazon Quick View, and that's just a huge time saver. And then one that I have a tendency to turn on and off is Keywords Everywhere.
Okay.
Those are pretty much the 2 big ones that I use on and off.
Can you repeat the first one again? DMS?
It's called DS Amazon Quick View.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much.
And I don't know if you have that, but basically you just, instead of having to click on each book and then scroll down to the description, you literally just hover over, and it'll show you, without even hovering, it shows you what their BSR is. And then when you hover over it, you can get all the book description information you need, like page count, which is a huge, when you're trying to figure out, if you're in a new niche and you want to figure out how many pages should my book be. And that goes, again, written, no content, low content, puzzle books, whatever. DS Amazon Quick View is huge for that. And again, it's free.
So it's a huge time saver instead of clicking through and looking at it. Okay, absolutely. That makes sense. Thank you very much. How do you set yourself apart from the competition? I got so many questions here. Don't worry, it's gonna end.
Okay. So obviously it's about the quality. But here's what I do, and I teach this to all my students too. But I check out my competition. I don't just go in and look at their cover, which I do, and go in and look at their page count. I go in, I'll look at the look inside feature and see what quality content they have on the inside. But I look at their reviews. I look at their 4 and 5 star reviews, but more importantly, I look at their 1s and 2s. And I do that because the 1s and 2s will tell you what they're doing wrong. So then you can make sure that you not only fix that in your book, but if you see a consistent pattern, you can actually use that in your ad copy. So that way you, like if someone uses, too many Sudokus, let's just say, and that's a consistent theme in their 1 and 2 star reviews, then in your ad copy, when you're running ads, you can say, the typical puzzle book have too many Sudokus for you. This book has whatever. And just so taking the pain point that they've already pointed out and using that as your sales pitch.
Oh, like in sales copy, we say getting rid of objections.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And this, getting rid of objections right away, and even more so using objections that that customer base has already had, using that to sell your book.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you. That's a good one.
Thank you.
I'm here as a student as well. I want to pick your brain as much as my subscribers do. Okay, so
Yeah. And again, I know I've said this a lot, but these tips I go for not just puzzle books. I mean, just any kind of content. Most of these will work for. So.
Okay, cool. How do you set yourself apart from the competition? Oh, sorry, I just asked that. Forget that. I'm sorry. How many books do you advertise? This is a great question. How many books do you advertise at a time?
That is a great question. I usually don't advertise more than 10 at a time. And the reason why is just the amount of time I have to manage the ads. You know, you definitely don't want to, in my opinion and in my experience, you don't want to just kind of let them run themselves and just forget about them, unless you don't care about being profitable and and you don't mind spending a whole bunch of money. So I mean, I check my people. Some people suggest checking your ads every week. I check mine every single day. And
Okay.
so, and I don't always make tweaks to them, but I do check them every day. And so 10 seems to be that happy number that I have enough time to check them, tweak what I need to, and still move on with the rest of my day. I still have a full-time job. I've got 4 kids. I've got, a lot on my plate, a YouTube channel.
Yes, you
And
do.
so, yeah. And so I want to use my time wisely. And I have run more than 10 at a time, and I've found that they're not as profitable because I can't give them the time that I should. So
Okay.
it's really going to come down to how much time do you have to give the attention to your ads as possible. So I mean, if you've got more time on your hands to go through each of them and tweak as many as you need to, then hey, go with more. But 10's about the max that I'll do.
10 is about the max, and you personally check it every single day, which
Absolutely.
is smart. I usually do like a 2-round situation where I'll do 1 round where I'll fill it up with manual, I'll put it in myself, as many keywords that are related. I'll keep it on broad, exact, and phrase, and run it through for 2 weeks, and then get those winners and keep it at exact after that. And then I check it every day. I'm just curious to see how you do it. Very interesting. So every day.
That's very similar to what I do. I'll use the exact, like you said, after we go through it. I use what high performing keywords, some people might call them.
Okay.
Once you find out which ones are really selling, and then I'll double down on those, which means I got to spend more time finding ones that are similar, keywords that are similar to that, and then it's just like an ongoing thing. You don't just set it and forget it kind of mentality.
Always filtering out the losers. I gotcha. That makes sense.
Right. Just to be as, I mean, even though you're being profitable, you still want to be more profitable.
That's
right?
exactly, yes.
I mean, just because your threshold may be 35%, then oh, I'm at 20%. Great. Can I get down to 15? Yeah. Can I get down to single digits? Absolutely. And so that's the ongoing thing with, at least for me. The perfectionist in me always wants to do better.
Oh, that makes sense, and that's why you check it every single day. Thank you for the tip. This is another one from a subscriber. How do you sell enough books to cover the advertising costs? This is related, right?
Yeah, it is related. What I would say the key is knowing before you even start running your ads. One, know, is your book ready for ads? And that I actually did a video one time where it said stop running ads, and people got really scared. And it's not really don't run ads. It's make sure your book is ready for ads first. Meaning, going back to what I said before, it's got a killer cover, it's got a quality interior, it's got good copy, book description and stuff like that first. So I mean that's part of it. And then the other part is you want to know what your profit margin is on that particular book first. So you can figure out, okay, so if my profit is $2, then I know that I have to spend less than $2 in ads per sale in order for me to be profitable.
Okay.
And so it's kind of working backwards. the important thing is knowing before you even run your ads or even create your ads, what you have to accomplish, what your clicks have to be and your sales have to be in order to be profitable. So that way you're not, going in blind. You're setting yourself up for success right off, right from the start. Now there are going to be ones, especially when they first launch, that aren't going to be profitable. It's going to take you some time to weed out those keywords that are, that are killing you, that are getting the clicks but aren't getting the sales. And so that's another reason why checking it daily is really important. And some people I know check theirs multiple times a day.
Okay.
I don't do that. I, like I said, once a day. And again, just finding out which ones are your are basically your bloodsuckers. Which ones are
Yeah.
getting the clicks but not getting the sales. They're just not right for that particular book. So, and I'll keep track of those keywords because I know by the clicks, those keywords people care about. So I don't just get rid of them. I don't delete them. I never delete a keyword. I always pause them, because I can always come back and use it maybe with a different cover, maybe with a different copy, maybe on a different book. But I still know that's a profitable keyword because they're getting clicks. I just need to find what the people that are clicking on that are missing to turn it into a sale.
So you always put the onus on you, the marketer, that
Exactly.
you got to find that sweet spot. You got to communicate with your audience so that those clicks turn into sales. They convert that into sales.
Exactly. And sometimes it's just as simple as tweaking your ad copy. But again, getting back to your question, the important thing is like I said, making sure that your book is ready for ads, and then making sure that before you start running the ad what you need to accomplish, how many sales you need to get per click in order to be profitable. And then you can kind of then that will determine, like if you got a little more wiggle room, then maybe you don't have to check your keywords as often. But if you have a really tight margin, then you're going to want to make sure you check those keywords every single day. And the ones that are getting a lot of clicks but no sales, put them on pause and see how things balance out.
That makes sense. So you gotta see what you can risk, and make sure that you hit those keywords. You know what? Sometimes I find it hard for myself. I have a keyword that is perfectly suited for my book, but I have to get rid of it because it's a bloodsucker, like you said. Have you ever had that experience before? Like the keyword, it matches with your book exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it absolutely, that's happened.
It breaks my heart.
And it does, it matches your, and it's like it kills you to have to put it on pause because it's perfect. But there's some kind of if there's not getting the sales, they might get sales, but if they're not getting enough sales, based on the click, then they're still costing you money, and you're not reaping the benefits of it. And so there's still some kind of disconnect between the person that put in that keyword and clicked on it and didn't buy it. Could be your price. Maybe it connected with them. I mean, it's perfect for that book. They liked it. They clicked on it, but then they looked at the price, or maybe they looked at your description and your book description didn't sell them. It didn't pull that trigger. Those are the two things that I usually tell people if they're getting clicks and not getting enough sales, is that it usually comes down to their either their look inside feature, which means the quality of their content. If you're charging $8.99 for a book, puzzle book, and then they click on the look inside feature and they see that it looks like a kid put it together, then they can think it's not worth $8.99. And so that could be that disconnect as well. So it's usually from my experience, it's usually the book description most of the time is going to be your culprit. Sometimes it's too long. People don't want to read that much. Again, we have a really short attention span, and so a shorter. It doesn't have to be a novel. You save a novel for the book, not necessarily the book description. So it's got to be, again, getting back to what I said about the book description. It's got to either get them to click or get them to read on. And so a lot of times, just a short, sweet, and to the point book description can be enough to counteract that. That you got a lot of clicks but not a lot of sales. So yeah, I've definitely had ones like that where it's like, oh, I hate to put this on pause, and I don't give up on them. Like I'll put them on pause, but then I sit back and I'm like, okay, what is the culprit? What's making this one not as profitable as it should be? You know, if I've got this many clicks and not a lot of sales, I mean, and I know from knowing my book how perfect that keyword phrase is, then there's got to be something that I can tweak to make it more profitable. And
so yeah, like you said, it can be a multiple, maybe a combination of variables: the pricing, the description, the cover, and the interior for that matter. You know, it's too bad we can't A/B test on Amazon.
right.
Yeah, you can kind of.
Yeah. What I would suggest is you only change one thing at a time. Because if you change too many things, it's just like when you're in school and you're doing any kind of science experiment. If you change too many variables, then you don't know what helped and what hurt.
That's right.
So just changing one thing at a time.
Okay, thank you for that. I got another interesting question from a subscriber, and I just had to put it down here. Is KDP a numbers game? Meaning, the more books I have out there, the more I will make in terms of money?
In theory, kind of. The key is quality over quantity. Making sure that you, and even with puzzle books, that you're in a niche. You know, don't do the shotgun approach where you just, you know, create a bunch of things and just, you know, throw garbage at the wall and see what sticks, you know. So you have to be intentional with what you create. And let's be honest, your time is money. I mean, you can always make more money. You can't make more time. You only have so many hours in a day. And so you want to make sure that you work smarter. So you have to create good quality content. And so instead, the days of having to create, you know, thousands and thousands of books in order to reap, you know, any quality or rewards from that is, you know, that's olden days. Because if you focus on quality, you don't have to put out as many books. I don't have thousands of books out there, including my written books and my line journals and everything else. I have just under 300 books total.
Okay.
So I don't have thousands of books out there. So it's about quality, making sure that you do your research and you're in a niche that you know is profitable. And again, that goes for puzzle books as well. You know, a lot of people don't understand that you can make a puzzle book theme, and you absolutely can. You know, not just with the cover, but you can, you know, have images inside your puzzle book that tie to whatever your theme is. Words, like if you're doing word searches in there, the words can be theme related. So you can still have a niche and a target audience that you can focus on. And because of that, you're not fighting against as many competitors. And so you can be more profitable.
Okay, that makes sense. So quality over quantity.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you can theme down, niche down, then more the better. It's great then.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. You are going to want to create some quantity as well, because, like I said at the beginning, is if someone buys your volume 1 of your puzzle book and they use it, they can't buy volume 1 again. So you're going to want to have a series or something along those lines, something, you know, other things that in that niche that they can reach out to and purchase. Otherwise, you're just leaving money on the table. You know, if you already got some of their, you know, you got their money and you got their interest in your brand, then you want to have some quantity out there as well. But you don't have to create hundreds of thousands of puzzle books in order to start seeing a significant value in it.
Okay, so double down with a series. You know that your audience wants to come back for more, and it can always, again, lead to more profits that way. That makes sense.
And make sure you look at your reviews. Don't take them to heart. Don't let it, don't cry over them.
Can't help it.
But no, I know. But both the positives and the negatives, you can learn a lot from a 1-star review. About what to fix. Just like I said earlier about looking at your competitors' 1-star reviews, look at your own too, and see what you can do to be better.
That makes sense. And like you said earlier as well, maybe a little bit of a refresher here, a refresher lesson. Use those negative reviews and add them to your copy or your description, I have to say, as an objection, right? Don't worry about a 10,000 Sudoku. This is maybe a 108 page Sudoku puzzle. You don't have to worry about, I don't know, just using the negative reviews into your sales copy, your description, so that you can help your audience turn into actual customers. Okay.
Right, right. Or say, not just Sudokus. In this one, you've got Sudokus and 9 other different puzzle types or whatever. Yeah.
That makes sense. I got one more question for you, again from a subscriber. This is a good one, a nice big juicy one. Could you share some keyword research tips and tricks, please?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I use Publisher Rocket. I'm not gonna lie about that. Yeah. But one thing I do, it kind of leads into keywords. Okay, so keywords. The first trick I would do when it comes to KDP in general, and Dave Chesson, the creator of Kindlepreneur, the creator of Publisher Rocket, actually did a really extensive survey and test on this. It's you use a combination of broad keywords as well as specific keywords in your in your 7 keyword slots.
Okay.
So what he's found is if you use about 2 or 3 of the 7 slots that you have, and you don't fill it to the max, just fill it with keywords that, based on your research, whether it's using Publisher Rocket or doing it manually, and you found that those are like your money makers. Those are spot on. Describe your book. If there's a high search volume for it, low competition, put them in just by themselves. In 2 or 3 slots, and then in the rest of them, that's when you put in. That's when you try to fill in as many of the characters as possible. And the reason why is it comes down to, because I could see you puzzled on this.
Yes.
It comes down to a difference between ranking for something and just showing up for it.
Okay.
So if you they call it indexing instead of showing up, but so if you put in whatever puzzle book for boys 2 to 4, that may not be super competitive, and even if it's not proper grammar, that's fine because nobody else is going to see it. Amazon's algorithm moves things around.
Okay.
But what it does is, if it has to do that, then the relevancy goes down. If it's not an exact string, if you will, then it's not as relevant. It has to kind of work for it. You'll still index for it, so you'll still show up, but you might show up on page 4 or 400, whatever. And so that's what the 3 or 4 slots that you basically try to fill as many of those characters as you can. But the ones that are exact matches, when I say exact match, I don't mean put the quotes around it. You don't want to do that.
Of course not. Okay.
Right. But the ones that the algorithm doesn't have to move around, those you will be found more relevant for. So you'll index for all of them, for every combination. But depending on how relevant it is, will determine how high up on the pages or how up on the page itself you'll actually show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're casting a broad net with your keywords in that example, right?
Well, you're casting a broad net with 3 out of the 4, keywords. and then just a few of them you're actually putting exact strings. And again, I'm not saying quotes, but you're putting strings that are spot on and are super competitive, or not competitive, but are super profitable. Those are the ones that the algorithm's not going to have to move anything around for, and those you'll actually be more relevant for, so you'll show up higher.
Okay, so but either way, there is a diversity of keywords in those 7 slots.
Correct.
Okay, and the algo is just trying to see what converts best, because Amazon makes money off of you as well.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and one thing to keep in mind, and this goes back to another thing about me comparing puzzle books to romance novels sometimes, is the consumers are very voracious, just like in the romance genre. And this actually can help you out when it comes to your ads. And that is, you don't have to worry about being on that top, that first page placement.
Okay.
Obviously, first page placement is ideal, but just like with romance novels, people who create or who consume puzzle books, because they're voracious, it's not unheard of for them to have already consumed all the books on page one, maybe all the books on page two. So being on page three isn't the end of the world. Yes, you're going to get less sales than being on page one, but if you know you don't, it's not as big of a deal as it is when it's just a regular book or a line journal where everybody is the same. So you really have to be in that top, that top spot. And because those books, line journals, are consumables, I can buy that exact same book over and over and over again. Then that top, spot is even that much more important. But again, like we said before, puzzle books are consumables, but they're one-time use consumables. Eventually, they're going to have to get to page two, page three in order to get the ones that they haven't purchased yet. And
Okay,
so because of that, you can actually bid less than what you normally would if you were doing, a different type of book. So that's one thing I want to make sure that I pointed out as well. So your ads can be a lot more profitable and cost you a lot less if because of the way puzzle books are.
Yeah, they're consumables. People want to come back. They have to search for other puzzle books. It makes sense.
Right.
Unlike journals and low content books.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Keith, thank you very much. This has been a pleasure. I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way, and my subscribers are going to enjoy this as well. Can you let us know where we can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it was a blast being here. Thanks for having me. The easiest way to find me is right here on the old YouTubes at Keith Wheeler Books. And you can also email me at kwheelerbooks. Well, you can go to kwheelerbooks.com. That's my website. It's still under construction. We're making some changes to it, but or you can email me at kwheelerbooks@gmail.com. All social media, I'm kwheelerbooks. So I'm pretty much everywhere. But the Keith Wheeler Books on YouTube is where I'm the most, I'm the most frequently found. So.
Cool. I'm going to have your YouTube channel link under this video when I publish it. So don't worry about it. It's going to be there.
Great.
Okay. Well, Keith, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can have you here again someday. Would that be possible?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So guys, don't forget to check out his channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like the videos that you like best that he's produced. Okay. Be good, everybody. Talk to you later.